How many of you are feeling very proud right now? Yeah? Do you want to give a round of applause to Kamal? You know, the good thing was, Kamal, when you were talking, I said my presentation is almost done, actually. I don't have to talk about it, actually. So, interesting. Let me just recap what you said, actually, and then substantiate why Kamal and people like Kamal, who's responsible for running large companies, are thinking this way. Oh, thank you. Cheers, man. Can you hear me? Check. 1, 2, 3. 5 things you said, Kamal. Digitization, rapid urbanization, narrative of sustainability, customer wants solution and outcome, and rapidly changing skill set. Essentially, Kamal is saying we don't have time, right? And we have to act now. Let me substantiate why. And it's important to understand why we do not have time and why it's important to act now. It's interesting what we do, because that's exactly the problem we looked at 4 years back and say, if you have to act now and you have to source digital solutions which you do not have today that can impact you, what is the best way to do that? And we put together a very interesting platform using artificial intelligence. It's called Growth Enabler Pi. And it allows you to source global innovation and solutions which has a potential to disrupt you, your organization, your customer behavior. But it's important to know why CEOs are so worried about it, actually. And you will see that how we have been covered, some of our global clients who work with us, actually. But I'm going to take you through a very interesting thing, actually. Have a look at this picture, actually. Very interesting. Nothing happened to UPS, actually. They continue to function, actually. But it's interesting, in 2008, they were in Guinness Book of World Record. For what? Created the largest trading floor, actually. And this is the picture on your right-hand side in 2016, actually. By the way, it didn't shut down. It's not that they didn't want to do that. The same jobs got automated. The quant analyst, the PhD analyst who were responsible for doing those number crunching, there was a small algorithm that got created and that could be done. That's the pace we are working with. That is what essentially Kamal and people like Kamal across the globe who run the large companies are anxious about, actually. That's the reason the head of a company comes on the stage and say, get ready for digitalization, get ready for speed, get ready for agility. I'll give you one more example. Have a look at it. How many of you have heard a company called Kensho? Very interesting company. If an incident happens anywhere across the globe, you just need to type and say how it's going to impact the commodity price and a share price, actually. And in 3 seconds, it will tell you, and you can go ahead and bid that. 5 years back, you would need a team of 50 analysts, quant analysts who are, computer science engineer, mathematicians, and all that to do that, actually. Got created in 2015 with some of the university professor, got funded by some of the large institute. In 5 years, they got sold. They got acquired by S&P 500 for $500 million, actually. That's the change and disruption we are talking about. That's the change that's going to impact you. Welcome to the world of digitization. Let me give you a few more statistics because it's going to make you anxious, actually, because I'm anxious. And that's the reason I thought it's important all of you understand and know this, actually. But before that, just a show of hand, actually. How many of you are entrepreneurs here? Actually? Well, practically everyone, actually. Kamal, do you want to join us, actually? Okay. So, I do agree with whatever was said, actually, that this is the best time. This is the best time in the history, and especially in India, actually, to do something innovative. Because this is the reason. We are not looking at 70 years of legacy. We are not looking at gradual change, actually. Guess what we are looking at, actually? We are looking at disruption. It's not going to come to you in piecemeal basis. It's going to hit you, and it's going to hit you before you even can realize, actually. That's the disruption we are talking about. And if you want to know what it can do, stay with me. Look at these logos. Not that people have failed here, actually, but look at something. Yeah, there are various acronyms which you see on your right-hand side, actually. People call them FANG, people call them GAFA. They control your entire stock market, actually. They control 4 trillion of market cap, right up close to the India GDP. They are the disruptor. They were not there. They were not the leading brand at once upon a time, actually. But they have scaled and gone very fast, actually. How many of you know about Kodak? How many of you know about Polaroid, actually? Do you know how many patents Polaroid filed? They were known for filing patents, actually. Right? At one point of time, they had more than 150 patents, actually. Is one point too high, 50 patents or 150 patents? Another thing is to commercialize it, actually. And that's called digital disruption. The reason I'm sharing it with you is that some of these proud brands, either you would have worked on, I would have worked here, actually. And it's interesting because I used to work for a large company, actually. There was a company called Gartner. I ran that for 10 years, actually. Okay? And we used to track the entire IT innovation and IT infrastructure. Then I realized that it's not coming for large corporate like IBM and Microsoft and all that. In fact, you don't even think about them when you're talking about innovation and disruption. You are looking at nooks and corners. Who's the new startup that's going to make it happen? And the reason is this. We did an interesting study. We reached out to 150 top executives in UK, US, and India and asked them one simple question. And the question had similar answer what Kamal narrated, actually. That, listen, I'm worried about digital disruption. I'm worried about its impact, actually. My future revenue has to come from digital channel. My customer experience has to be as good as what people experience when they're working with Facebook or WhatsApp or buying stuff from Amazon. I need to get ready for that, and it's important for me. Once it became clear that across the globe people are asking these questions, we begin to understand is why it's happening. And I'll tell you guys, this is a very interesting study. This study is lying in front of every leader's table. Essentially what it's saying is that, and it's done by Yale, there is a professor called Richard Foster. What he's saying is, and they've done a longitudinal study over a period of 15 years, and what they're saying is that the average age of S&P 500 is continuously declining. They're saying in next 10 years, 50% of S&P 500 companies are going to get disrupted. They're no longer going to remain in S&P 500. Yeah, that's the problem. That's got them worried. And if you're just wondering why it's going to happen, look at your right-hand side. The innovation at the speed and the pace it's coming to you, every year, 1.78 million tech startups are born. From 2014, there has been a tectonic shift, actually. There are 300 unicorn that has been born in that era. How many of you understand unicorn? It's a company with $1 billion valuation, actually. We have 20 in India. Correct? Look what happened before 2014. If you want to know, how many of you use LinkedIn? It took them 11 years to become unicorn, actually. And then last year, Microsoft acquired them for $24 billion. Yeah, understand what's the era coming, actually. What's happening to the digitization, actually. Because the CEOs are so worried about it, there used to be a term called venture capitalist. I mean, that exists. It's not that they're going to fund the startup and all that. What the large corporates are saying, to hell with everything. Let me go and acquire a company that's going to give me a comparative advantage. Let me build my new business model, which I'm not sure I can find out and build it. Let me build it and talk to a startup who can help me so that I can create a service which is very different, which doesn't exist today, actually. That's what they are saying. And there comes a new terminology called corporate venture capitalist, actually, and that's being born. They're not interested in acquiring and investing in your company because they want return. They're interested because they want to survive, actually. You, as a startup, is going to accelerate their growth, actually. They're not going to accelerate your growth, actually. That's how worried they are. Brings me to a very simple point. This is Word. How many of you have heard about Salesforce and Mark Benioff, actually, one of the large, successful, SaaS company? There was a time when we used to say oil is the new currency, actually. Then data is the new currency, actually. Keep it aside, guys. You have 18 months from here now. It's going to impact you in a big way. Speed and agility is the new currency. That's what Mark said in last World Economic Forum, actually. If you have to act now, because it's going to impact you in a big, big way. And we actually validated with some of the large senior leaders, actually. And the good thing is that Kamal actually went on a stage and said, look, speed is the most important thing, because he can see it, how fast it's going to come, actually. Government of India has already announced that by 2025 and 2030, we're talking about sustainability, they're only talking about electric car, actually. And it just so happened somebody recommended my name, actually, to the team of British Petroleum. They landed up in my office last week, and they said, we're worried. I said, what happened? He says, you know what we do? I say, yeah, I know what you do. He says, I don't think there is a future to it. Actually, we need to talk about the new energy sources. So I said, what do you want to do? He says, I want to do a lot of things. Essentially, when all these electric vehicle is floating around, till yesterday I used to supply same energy through oil. Now I need to think about how I'm going to create infrastructure to continue to run that, actually. You see, everyone is thinking like that, not just manufacturing, not just car, not the banks, actually, not the can shows, actually. Everyone is thinking like that. Speed is the new currency. Remember, go back home with very simple thing. Have a look at it. If you don't believe what Kamal said and what I'm narrating to you, what the statistics are saying, actually, have a look at it, actually. This is Wall Street, 2000. On the next to it, Wall Street 2018. Some of the usual suspect, actually. See the people who have dropped out, actually. Who thought Cisco is going to go dropping out, actually? Yeah? Who thought Citigroup is going to drop out of that? Actually? Yeah? GE. Yeah? How many of you are familiar with era 2014, and how many are familiar with this new era of Jeff Immelt, actually? Yeah? Interesting times, actually. Whatever they did, they said they want to be either number 1 or number 2, actually. That didn't pan out, actually. Interesting times for all of you guys, and this is where it's pointing to, actually.